And now for more on this, we bring in criminal defense attorney, former senior homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalona. The unraveling of this family, Bernarda, is certainly a very complicated storyline. That being said, the Murdaughs were monumental figures in this small South Carolina community. So I got some issues with jury selection, right? I mean, everyone knows who these people are. Everyone probably knows them personally in this really small town. And as Rich just said, they've called in about 10% of the county's population to try to get an impartial jury. But do you expect the defense here to move for a change of venue?
Mitch, it's going to be very difficult to select a jury of 12 plus some alternate. The whole goal, of course, is to select a fair and impartial jury for both sides, not just for the defense, but also for the prosecution. So a change of venue, a decision hasn't been made. As you can see, they're going forward with jury selection here in Walterboro. First, they have to see whether it is even possible to get a fair and impartial jury, because it's not about whether you know Mr. Murdaugh. The question is, can you still be fair and impartial despite what you know or have seen or have heard or your interactions with Mr. Murdaugh or his family in the past? But we'll just have to wait and see. The goal number is 12 to be seated, as well as some alternates.
There are fewer than 6,000 people in Walterboro, the town of, and there are fewer than 40,000 people in Colleton County, South Carolina. So the prosecutors here, putting the change of venue aside, the prosecutors here have hinted that Murdaugh's dire financial situation was a possible motive at these pre-trial hearings. They claim he murdered his wife and son because he wanted sympathy, he wanted to buy more time to pay off his debts. What evidence is there to support that if you've looked at this case?
Mitch, this all makes for great TV. We're talking about money, power, greed, entitlement, privilege, and of course, money, 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 which is the driving force of a lot of unfortunate homicides, whether it's because of emotion or because, you know what, I don't want to be broke anymore. I don't want to be shown to the public who I truly am, especially thinking that this is a family dynasty. That county has known this family for over 100 years. In fact, 3 of the family members were the state prosecutors for that very county. So you just have to think the emphasis of how much people know about this family. In terms of evidence, we don't know much. In fact, to the point that the prosecutor, as well as the defense attorney, asked for a gag order, so that way information can't be streamed to the public unless the public is in the courtroom and reporting on what they say. But so far we know Mr. Murdaugh was at the scene in the sense of he called 911. The question is, was he at the scene when the homicides actually took place? And 2, is he the person who shot his wife and his son on that very same night? So as of now, I heard that there's a Snapchat video where Alex's son, Paul, is videotaping them, and in that videotape, supposedly Alex Murdaugh is there. And if that is the case, that's going to be a huge blow to the alibi, because the defense has stated that Alex Murdaugh was visiting his father and was not at the property during that time. There's also the issue about the shirt that Alex Murdaugh was wearing that supposedly he had blood splatter on it, but there's some issues with the testing there. So we'll just have to wait and see. Is it going to be talking about a lot of motive? Because in the end, you don't have to prove murder. You have to prove that the person had intent to kill these 2 individuals, and this is the person responsible.
Bernarda, real quick, like less than 10 seconds, because we got to go. But if he hired someone else to do this, is there any difference in what punishment he may get if he's convicted?
Well, he's still going, given his age and stuff, you know that he's going to die in prison. I mean, right now, the prosecution is seeking life without the possibility of parole. They could have sought the death penalty and they chose not to. But that sounds like more of a murder for hire. And if they can connect them to it, again, that's a different theory, but with the same similar charges.
Okay. Bernarda Villalona, defense attorney, former federal prosecutor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.